Wednesday, March 2nd. Welcome to your coffee break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski with the latest local news, including what to expect during today's storm. An Easton resident robbed at knife point in his own home and much more. Kevin Coleman is in for Frank Granito with your forecast and a Nutmeg Sports update, and Donald Lang will join us later to take a look back on this day in history. But first, today's storm is picking up around the region with high winds and rain causing some power outages, downed trees, and school closings. Now, Ridgefield Public Schools decided to close for the day due to disruptive travel conditions. Monroe, Greenwich, and Trumbull Public Schools are among districts dismissing early to avoid the worst of the storm. Also just hearing Norwalk is also canceling its after-school activities. Now, we are hearing more reports from our local papers about downed wires and tree branches, so be careful if you are traveling today. Officials also remind residents that if you do lose power today, it should be reported to your electric company, not local police. They will likely be kept busy with several other calls today. Of course, we'll be keeping you posted on the latest storm developments, and Kevin Coleman will have a look at your forecast just a little bit later. Well, in other news, an Easton resident was robbed at knife point in his home on Wednesday afternoon. That robber, who remains at large, took an undetermined amount of money, according to police. Now, at 11:45 p.m. on Wednesday, February 28th, the Easton Police Department received a 911 call from a resident on Sunset Road who reported that he was just robbed at knife point. Now, when police arrived at his home, the homeowner said that that man entered the residence through a rear sliding door. The homeowner heard a noise and went to the dining room where he confronted the man. Well, the man was holding a large kitchen knife and demanded money from the homeowner. That homeowner turned over a bag containing an undetermined amount of cash. The suspect then fled the home, ran to a vehicle, and sped away, according to police. Well, with assistance from Bridgeport, Fairfield, and Trumbull police departments, a search was conducted for that car, but the vehicle and the suspects were not found. The Easton Police Department said they believe that this is an isolated incident. However, they do encourage residents to secure their houses and vehicles. The investigation is ongoing, and police say several leads are being explored. They're also asking anyone with information to contact the Easton Police Department at 203-268-4111. And in other news, Milford police have arrested a 27-year-old Trumbull man, Ryan Nolan, who's 18 years old, of Norwood Terrace, for allegedly providing heroin to a man who overdosed and died in a Milford motel room after using that substance. Now, Nolan, arrested on warrant, was charged with illegal distribution of narcotics and was released from police custody on his promise to appear in court March 27th. Police said the man who used the heroin that Nolan provided overdosed and died on October 23rd at an Old Gate Lane motel. And Fairfield police were at Fairfield schools Wednesday, and a Southern Connecticut State University student was in custody accused of making threats against students at Fairfield Ludlow High School. Well, Fairfield police said that police presence at the schools was increased this week, even though that person arrested had no way of carrying out his threats. Now, parents had called 911 on Tuesday, reporting that several students who attend Ludlow receiving harassing messages through social media from a student at Southern Connecticut State University in New Haven. Well, police found there was an argument over Snapchat in which 23-year-old Nicholas Graham of Southport told high school students he would find them and kill them and all of their friends. Well, Fairfield police determined Graham was living at SCSU in New Haven. He was taken into custody by the university's public safety department and turned over to Fairfield officers. Graham told Fairfield police that he had no intention of harming anyone and that his posts were motivated by emotion and anger. Graham was transported to St. Vincent's Medical Center, evaluated, and remained in police custody. Now, Graham was charged with second-degree breach of peace, threatening, and second-degree harassment. He's due to appear in court on March 7th. And construction has started at Milford Silver Sand State Park on a controversial $9.1 million project. Now, last week, huge piling sat at the site, and this week, an East Broadway resident told the Milford Mirror that the sound of a pile driver could be heard for several days, ringing throughout the area. Well, the State Department of Energy and Environmental Protection plans to add public bathrooms, changing areas, a building for lifeguards and law enforcement offices, and a snack bar with a wraparound deck, plus some additional parking space as part of that multi-million-dollar plan. Now, DEP spokesman Chris Coleby said the work is expected to be completed more than a year from now, by Memorial Day of 2019. Now, residents in Milford as well as city leaders have been speaking against those plans since 2015, arguing about environmental impacts and the possibility of park-goers parking on city streets such as East Broadway rather than paying a fee to park inside. Well, thanks to a new state initiative, Passport to Parks, funded by an additional $10 car registration fee, Milford residents will not have to pay to drive into the park when that construction is completed. Now, neither will other state residents. Only out-of-state residents will have to pay to get through the gate. And speaking of the beach, the United States Geological Survey field crews have deployed storm tide and wave sensors from Maine to Delaware to track and study the nor'easter forecasted for today. Now, those sensors will continuously measure wave heights and tide levels and provide information on timing, duration, and extent of flooding. Now, data is collected 4 times per second, providing a detailed picture of that storm. Now, more than 25 USGS scientists deployed over 50 sensors among the coasts of Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, and Delaware. Now, the information gathered will help federal and state official emergency managers and coastal planners understand storm processes and ultimately build more resilient communities. Now, for more on what to expect throughout the storm, let's throw it over to Kevin Coleman, who I know had a tough time getting here today, Kevin, right?
Well, listen, the storm continues on here around Fairfield County. The county itself is expecting heavy rain that could turn into heavy snow possibly later this evening, which could affect people on their drive home from work, according to the most recent report. Now, Danbury and Bridgeport areas are forecasted to get between 3 and 3.5 inches of rain and storm. There you see from your view right there, Route 8 outside our windows here in Shelton, Connecticut. There are 5 main impacts from the storm that we're taking a look at now, Kate. Minor to moderate coastal flooding here in Connecticut, damaging winds along the coast, heavy rain much across the region, accumulating heavy snow, which we mentioned before, could impact your commute home this Friday evening. That's expected to be around the Westchester, Fairfield County area. And of course, one impact you don't want to hear, Kate, of course, we talked about is fallen trees and power outages around Fairfield County throughout the day. Now let's look towards tonight. Things will clear up a little bit as we get around the 10 p.m. midnight area, cloudy and windy with periods of rain. Snow, again, may mix in with a low of 34. Now tomorrow, things will clear up, cloudy with a high near 45, and Sunday, partly cloudy skies with a high around 45. That will do it for your weather update. Everyone stay dry outside today, and of course, back to you, Kate.
All right, thanks so much, Kevin. And we are going to step out for a break, come back. Donald Eng will take a look back on this day in history. Kevin has your Nutmeg Sports Update, and we have more local news after this. Get a fresh start to the new year by shaking up your meal routine. Walter Stewart's Market is your local source for a delicious selection of fresh and convenient salad shakers, like Southwest salad with chicken, Cobb with organic chicken, Power Vegan with fruit and quinoa, Greek salad with tabbouleh, and grilled shrimp with hominy. Grab one from our salad case or order from our deli today. Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street, New Canaan, or shop online at stewartsmarket.com.
At Galt, we always put you first. As your full-service home heating partner, we provide expert delivery, installation, and maintenance for all your heating needs with knowledgeable, friendly professionals that give you peace of mind 24/7. Galt Family Companies, you first since 1863.
Had a sports injury or slip and fall that needs immediate care? Coastal Orthopedics Walk-In Urgent Care gives you direct access to orthopedic specialists fast without an appointment. Biking, golf, tennis, soccer, whatever the sports injury is, sprain or fracture, Coastal Orthopedics Walk-In Urgent Care can help. Open 7 days a week now at 3 locations. The iPark Building at 761 Main Avenue, Norwalk, 36 Old Kings Highway South in Darien, or in the Westport Medical Center at 323 Riverside Avenue, Westport. Go to myorthoct.com, like them on Facebook.
Welcome back to this March 2nd edition of your Coffee Break on the HAN Network. Time to take a look back on this day in history with Donald Eng. Don.
Well, Kate, a couple of really large businesses in the update today. First, though, we go back to 1877, just 2 days before Inauguration Day. Congress declares Republican Rutherford B. Hayes the winner of the 1876 presidential election, even though Democrat Samuel Tilden had won the popular vote. Now, this is one of 5 presidential elections where the popular vote winner had lost. The only one where the losing candidate got more than half of the vote. Now, to win the presidency, Hayes promised to pull the federal troops that were enforcing non-discrimination policies in the South out of the South, setting the stage for the segregation era that would last another 90 years. To 1901, the United States Steel Corporation, better known as U.S. Steel, founded as a result of a merger between Carnegie Steel and Federal Steel. Now, U.S. Steel would become the first corporation in the world valued at over $1 billion. At its height, U.S. Steel produced 2/3 of the country's steel. It was the largest corporation in the world at one time. 1962, Wilt Chamberlain sets the single-game scoring record in the National Basketball Association with 100 points in the old Hershey Arena. Chamberlain that season played all 80 games, averaged more than 50 points and 25 rebounds per game. Quite simply, the most dominant player in NBA history. And finally, we go to 1995 in Northern California for this. Or not. What you would have seen there would have been Yahoo Incorporated today in 1995. A couple of Stanford graduates actually founded the company. One of the early internet pioneers. The company's popularity has declined somewhat in the last couple of years, but it did retain some value. Verizon acquired most of Yahoo last year for about $4.5 billion. That is your look back in history for today, March 2nd, and I'm Donald Lang.
Thanks so much, Don. Well, in other local news, earlier this week, New Canaan police released video of someone attempting to enter a locked car on Orchard Drive. Take a look. Now, police were contacted on Monday, February 26th after that resident saw surveillance video. While reviewing their home security video footage, a resident saw a suspect attempt to enter a vehicle in the driveway of that residence. Now, the attempted entry occurred at 1 in the morning on Monday, February 26th. The resident's vehicle was locked, so the entry was unsuccessful, and nothing was stolen, according to police. Now, the suspect in that video is a white male with white sneakers, a tan jacket. His face was covered, and his head was covered as well. More on that story at ncadvertiser.com. And in the last week of January, proposed cuts to the Ridgefield High School English department that threatened to remove writing conferences from the curriculum drew a heavy wave of criticism from students and parents. Well, this week in Ridgefield, it was a February 22nd letter written and signed by Superintendent Karen Baldwin to parents regarding the safety and security protocols in Ridgefield schools that drew the fury of one RHS senior and a cadre of residents on Facebook. Now, senior Paul Kim spoke at Monday's meeting saying that Superintendent Karen Baldwin was in over her head and had also plagiarized a letter written by a West Hartford superintendent. Now, board chairwoman Fran Walton ruled Kim out of order for making what she called a personal attack and cut him off before he was able to accuse the superintendent of plagiarizing her letter from a similar one written by the superintendent of West Hartford Public Schools, Tom Moore, back on February 15th. That was the day after the school shooting in Parkland, Florida. Well, the Ridgefield press was there as Kim spoke at that meeting. Take a look.
But it's not a personal attack, and if you let me finish, I think that you would see exactly where this is going, to where there are grave concerns that people may have with professionalism displayed not by Dr. Baldwin just today in this instance, but also in her tenure at the post in Suffield. I think there are concerns that we need to discuss in a public sitting before we can have a vote on the budget.
This is nothing more.
This is not a personal attack. If there were questions of the integrity of anyone in a position who has such authority,
I'm going to rule you out of order. You can write a letter to the board expressing your concerns, but this is not going to continue.
Thank you, Ms. Walton.
Thank you, Mr.
Now, Superintendent Baldwin wrote an apology statement on Monday, 4 days after that original letter was sent to parents and hours prior to the board's public hearing. She said, in part, there are similarities between my February 22nd letter and that of the superintendent of the West Hartford Public Schools, Tom Moore. Now, there is so much more on that story at theridgefieldpress.com. And the Region 9 Board of Education has unanimously passed a motion in favor of the implementation of a school resource officer for the 2018-2019 school year. Now, funding options for that SRO will be determined at a later date. At the Region 9 Board of Education budget workshop on March 1st, Chairperson Vance Hancock announced that he had spoken with Reading First Selectman Julia Pemberton, who has arranged for a police officer to be on duty at Barlow starting immediately. That, according to Superintendent Tom McMorrin. Well, while the Board of Education has agreed to getting an SRO, the positive isn't actually approved until the budget containing it passes, according to Region 9 Board of Education member Gwen Denny. Now, in response to the news, Reading parent Victoria Eastis, who has 2 children at Barlow and 2 who are graduates, said she thinks the addition of an SRO is a great start. Eastis said, however, that she believes parents, staff, and students need to stand up and say something when they have any concerns regarding someone's behavior or habits in school. There's much more on that story at aspatuck.news. And in other news, the 2018 graduation ceremony for Shelton High School will be held in Ansonia. Headmaster Beth Smith released a statement saying the change is due to renovations being made at Shelton's Finn Stadium that are starting in May. Now, Smith said in part due to extensive renovations at Finn Stadium scheduled to begin in May, the commencement ceremony for the class of 2018 will be held at Nolan Field in Ansonia. Smith said the date will be announced at the April Board of Education meeting. She said while this is certainly disappointing to our graduating seniors and parents, having the ceremony at Nolan Field will allow us the opportunity to have the distribution of the number of tickets and a ceremony similar to what we have done in the past on our campus. You can follow more on that story at sheltonherald.com. And in other news, St. Baldrick's, a fundraiser for children's cancer research, offers participants the opportunity to shave their head in exchange for donations. Now, last year, the event at the Darien Fire Department was the third biggest in the state, and this year, organizers want to be #1. This year, the event is at the Darien Fire Department on Saturday, March 31st from 6 to 9 p.m. Now, in its first year, 27 shaved their head and raised over $10,000. But in just 4 years, in 2017, 73 people shaved their heads and raised nearly 10 times that total, over $93,000. Well, to support the event and help make Darien firefighters the #1 St. Baldrick's event in the state this year, you can get more information at DarienTimes.com, and the entire community is invited to that event on Saturday, March 31st. All right, let's throw it back over to Kevin Coleman now for your Nutmeg Sports Update. Kevin.
All right, Kate, last night the FCIAC crowned a new champion in boys basketball in the FCIAC, and for the first time in 25 years, the Danbury Hatters bring home an FCIAC title back to Danbury High School as the Hatters, the #3 seed, defeated #5 Trumbull 75-57 last night at the Zioli Fieldhouse. Let's take a look now at the highlights from last night.
Trumbull and Coach Buddy Bray, 17-5, 13-5, and it is 3 points for Javon Hernandez to get us started. Another steal here as Burton comes away with it. Vines to Hernandez in the corner. Right back to Deontay Vines. Burton going up strong, and Hernandez tiptoeing half court. Steps around Williams. Snows in the corner. Hot potato at the moment, and finally Burton finishes inside. Brown at the buzzer, and it's good! 8 points for Jordan Brown in the second quarters. He scored the final 6 for the Hatters. He's got 12 in the game. The lead is 17 now. Jordan Brown's got the rebound. Here comes Burton. He might bring the house down. Oh! Woo! Inside, Snow with the finger roll.
Here it comes.
He's hugging up his seniors. The clock is down to 5 for the first time since 1992. Danbury are the FCIAC champions in boys basketball.
Tournament MVP Denali Burton finished with 24 points last night. Again, congratulations to head coach Casey Bach and the Danbury Hatters. Tomorrow night, we'll be live from the Darien Ice House as we will crown a champion in FCIAC boys hockey as the #1 Greenwich Cardinals take on the defending champions, #2 Richfield Tigers. Puck drop at 7 o'clock. That'll do it for your Nutmeg Sports Update. Kate, back to you.
Kevin, we're going to step out for a break, come back and recap some of the top stories we're following today after this.
Voted Best Gourmet to Go in Fairfield County, Palmer's extensive menu offers everything you'll need to make your next event easy and delicious. Whether you're hosting a small get-together or planning a large celebration, they've got you covered breakfast through dessert. Order online at palmersdarien.com or call 203-655-2077.
Yeah, Dad.
Kyle, I need you to update the financial statements.
I took care of that yesterday, Dad.
Mac, I need you to get those deals approved.
They're all done, Mr. Miller.
Jeff, I need you to order lunch for the meeting. They can't do a thing without me.
Right now, lease a 2017 Sentra S for only $97 a month.
I'm never going to retire.
UK Gourmet is the largest specialty grocer in the area, featuring food from England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. over 80 teas to choose from, and a brilliant assortment of biscuits to go with them. Over 70 cheeses from grass-fed cows, which makes a smashing difference in taste. The creamiest chocolate you'll ever taste using no artificial colors or preservatives. So say hooray for UK Gourmet, 78 Stony Hill Road in Bethel, or visit ukgourmet.us.
Welcome back to this Friday edition of your Coffee Break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski, recapping some of the top stories we're following today. An Easton resident was robbed at knife point in his home on Wednesday afternoon. Now, that robber, who remains at large, took an undetermined amount of money. Now, at 11:45 p.m. on Wednesday, February 28th, Easton police received a 911 call from a resident on Sunset Road who reported he had just been robbed at knife point. Well, when police arrived at his home, that homeowner said the man entered the home through a rear sliding door. The homeowner heard a noise and went to the dining room, where he confronted that man. Well, the man was holding a large kitchen knife and demanded money from the homeowner. The homeowner turned over a bag containing an undetermined amount of cash, and the suspect fled the residence, ran to a vehicle, and sped away. Well, with some assistance from Bridgeport, Fairfield, and Trumbull police departments, a search was conducted for that vehicle, but the vehicle and suspect were not located. The Easton Police Department said they believe this is an isolated incident. However, they encourage residents to secure their houses and their vehicles. The investigation is ongoing, and they say several leads are being explored. Anyone with information on the case can contact Easton Police at 203-268-4111. And Milford police arrested 27-year-old Ryan Nolan of 18 Norwood Terrace in Trumbull on February 28th for allegedly providing heroin to a man who overdosed and died in a Milford motel room after using that substance. Now, Nolan was arrested on warrant, was charged with illegal distribution of narcotics, and was released from police custody on his promise to appear in court March 27th. Now, police said the man who used the heroin that Nolan provided overdosed and died on October 23rd at an Old Gate Lane motel. And in other news, Fairfield police were at Fairfield schools on Wednesday, and a Southern Connecticut State University student was in custody, accused of making threats against students at Fairfield Ludlow High School. Well, Fairfield police said that police presence at schools was increased this week, even though the person arrested had no way of carrying out those threats. Parents called 911 on Tuesday, reporting that several students who attend Ludlow were receiving harassing messages through social media from a student at Southern Connecticut State University. Well, police found there was an argument over Snapchat in which 23-year-old Nicholas Graham of Southport told high school students he would find them and kill them and all of their friends. Well, Fairfield police determined that Graham was living at SCSU in New Haven. He was taken into custody by the university's public safety department and turned over to Fairfield police officers. Well, Graham told Fairfield police that he had no intention of harming anyone and that his posts were motivated by emotion and anger. Now, Graham was transported to St. Vincent's Medical Center, evaluated, and then taken into police custody. Graham was charged with second-degree breach of peace, second-degree threatening, and second-degree harassment. He's due to appear in court on March 7th. And construction has started at Silver Sand State Park on a controversial $9.1 million project. Last week, huge pilings sat at the site, and this week an East Broadway resident said that he heard the sound of a pile driver for several days ringing throughout the area. Well, the State Department of Energy and Environmental Protection plans to add public bathrooms, changing areas, a building for lifeguards and law enforcement offices, and a snack bar with a wraparound deck, plus some additional parking spaces as part of that multi-million-dollar plan. Well, DEP spokesman Chris Galaby said that the work is expected to be completed more than a year from now, by Memorial Day of 2019. Residents in Milford, as well as city leaders, have been speaking against the plan since 2015, arguing about environmental impacts and the possibility of park goers parking on city streets such as East Broadway rather than paying a fee to park inside the park. Well, thanks to a new state initiative, Passport to Parks, funded by an additional $10 registration fee, Milford residents will not have to pay to drive into the park when construction is done. Neither will other state residents. Only out-of-state residents will have to pay to get through that gate. All right, taking a turn now, let's get one final look at the forecast with Kevin Coleman. Kevin.
All right, Kate, thank you. As the storm continues on here around the Fairfield County area, we are expecting heavy rain that could turn into heavy snow. According to the most recent report, you get a look outside to Route 8 outside our windows here in our Shelton studios. The Danbury and Bridgeport areas are forecasted to get between 3 and 3.5 inches of rain from the storm, and some 5 impacts from the storm that could accumulate today. Prolonged minor to moderate coastal flooding throughout the coast of Connecticut, damaging winds along the Connecticut coast, heavy rain across much of the region, accumulating heavy snow around the Fairfield County, Westchester County areas as well, and of course fallen trees and power outages are expected and have been expected already throughout the area. Look towards tonight, things will start to clear up around the midnight area, around the night, periods of rain on and off throughout the evening. Snow may mix in as well, again, during your commute home, so be sure to stay safe on the roads, a low of 34. And we look towards tomorrow, things will clear up tomorrow. Mostly cloudy, high near 45, and Sunday we wrap the weekend up with partly cloudy skies, a high around 45. That will do it for your weather update. Everyone stay dry out there, especially you, Kate. It's a little rainy out there today, so get your umbrellas out. Back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Kevin. And we should mention you can follow the latest storm updates at your local HAN Network community news site. We could say already that many towns are dismissing early today public schools, including Fairfield, Norwalk, Trumbull, Monroe, and Greenwich, so stay tuned. There might be more to come. Also coming up this weekend, FCAC Boys Ice Hockey Championship Saturday at 7, live on the HAN Network. We're going to wrap things up here on your coffee break, but we'll see you Monday at 11 with the latest local news and more. Stay safe.